The Suns' search for a Kevin Durant trade partner has recently taken an interesting turn. We've talked about several different trade partners, but never really considered the Philadelphia 76ers until they got a recent fortuitous bounce from the draft lottery ping pong balls. They moved up 2 picks, and they are in an interesting situation. They are planning, from my understanding, to go all in on this next season for Joel Embiid and Tyrese Maxey, a run it back year, if you will. And who better to run it back with than Kevin Durant? Sundo and I like this idea. It almost seems a little too good to be true because the return would be the 3rd overall pick in this year's draft and Paul George, because obviously he wouldn't be enough alone. But we've got Sixers talk with Romp Star, Romp 2.0 on the line. Romp, obviously you're close to the situation there in Philly. You've already put a video out about this. So could you just kind of explain to us, I guess, the likelihood? Is this a real possibility, or is this just being tossed out there by people for clicks?
So I think it has legs because the thing is, the Sixers are in a situation where they're kind of forced to go all in. Like a lot of fans in Philly, they want to rebuild, they want to trade Embiid, they want to trade Paul George. But the problem is they gave Joel Embiid an extension when they really didn't have to. He gets injured again. He doesn't play at all. He looks terrible last year, not like himself. So trying to trade Embiid right now, you're not going to get anything in return. So it's kind of like you're just hoping and praying that he comes back and looks like an MVP at least, kinda. So then maybe the next year you can get off of him. But at the same time, there is like that 1% chance. We haven't seen it yet. Maybe Joel Embiid has a lucky Kawhi Leonard type run. And if that does happen, if you're Daryl Morey, you have to put the Sixers in a situation to win because last time he was in the playoffs, Joel Embiid, he averaged 33 points on one leg. He didn't have an eye. He had an eye issue, whatever it was, Bell palsies. And when he was off the court, they were like a negative 20 plus in that series. So if you really are trying to win now and you're Daryl Morey, you're probably going to get fired if everything goes wrong. I would do it. I mean, the 3rd pick, it was kind of lucky that the Sixers got it. I mean, think about it. Before last season, going into the year, the Sixers had championship expectations. And it's not like, okay, we're giving up Jared McCain, we're giving up Tyrese Maxey for Kevin Durant. Really, all you're giving up is the 3rd pick. And the thing is, you shouldn't even have that. You kind of just lucked into it because the season went so bad. If you were giving up like Jared McCain and Tyrese Maxey, it would be a different story. It would be a heck no. But the fact that you're kind of just giving up Paul George, who's on a bad contract, it's like, okay, it's like a get out of jail free card and hopefully everything goes right for a championship. So I definitely think there's a real shot.
Okay, I'm following you on this one, Romp, and I do agree. I do agree that it can happen. I agree that the money for Paul George would match, and I agree that the Suns would be more than willing to take the 3rd overall pick. My only question to you is, would ownership want to take on a 37-year-old Kevin Durant?
So my thing with Kevin Durant is he's kind of in a separate category. Like Paul George, I saw signs of being old. When KD's on the floor, he's kind of like LeBron and Steph Curry. Like they're ageless. They're still going to produce. I'm looking at the games played, and he played 62 last year, then the year before 75. So of course there's a chance he's going to get injured. But the thing about KD is he's kind of a rental. So if it doesn't go well, it is what it is. It's going to hurt to give up that 3rd overall pick. But also, I think this would be a whole different story if we had the 2nd overall pick, we had the 1st overall pick, because I feel like those are the superstars of this draft. Ace Bailey definitely can be a superstar, but it seems like a project type of player and it's risky.
But do you think the ownership would be willing to part ways with the 3rd overall pick for what you mentioned, a rental in Durant? Looking at his contract, he literally only has the 2025-2026 season left. After that, he becomes an unrestricted free agent. You trade for Kevin Durant, and maybe you sign him long-term, or maybe you let him walk. Do you think they're willing to let him walk for the 3rd overall pick? Or do you think ownership's going to say, hey, look, tried it. Joel Embiid's getting older. We have Maxey. Let's just build around this young core with Maxey and on all the other players, and let's just start all over with the 3rd overall pick. Do you think they'll go that route? Because I get what you're saying. I agree that it is possible, but I also know like maybe they're thinking the Joel Embiid experience has run its course and maybe they're willing to just reset.
Yeah, I definitely think the second option is probably their line of thinking, if I'm being real, because the fans in Philly, they do not want to give up this pick. And if this trade were to go down, most of the backlash would be like, are you kidding me? We're trading for another old injury prone player who hasn't won anything since he left Golden State. Like that would be the narrative. No one would really believe in it. Like this third overall pick, the whole season, no one really cared. Like Philadelphia Sixers, no one talked about them. So this third overall pick kind of gave the fans hope. From an ownership perspective, I don't know if you look at that and you're like, okay, let's just give it away for more old players. So definitely they could be thinking that for sure. And I would say it's probably the likelihood.
Yeah, the reason why I'm asking is because yes, it does sound good just giving up Kevin Durant. We swapped Kevin Durant for Paul George, third overall pick. Yeah, that sounds all good, but I'm just thinking if the Sixers do want to play hardball and the ownership's like, no, let's not do this. Maybe they ask for younger players along with Kevin Durant, and maybe the pick swap that the Suns currently. As a Suns fan, like I'm not a fan of getting rid of the younger talent. I'm not a fan of them asking for a Ryan Dunn or an Oso or a player like that. That's just me, but I do feel like that would be the route that would actually happen. I don't think ownership would just go straight swap for Paul George Durant and give us a third overall pick. I just don't think it's happening. I think it's going to require way more.
You're talking from the Suns' perspective.
I mean, from the Sixers' perspective as well, because if it is a situation where they're thinking, hey, why do we want to give up the third overall pick when we can just start building around Maxey and a young core? And if they do want to do it and do get Kevin Durant, because like you said, Kevin Durant is in quote ageless. He is still even at 36 years old. I mean, they might try to get Durant and then give him a short 2-3 year extension and then have younger players around him. They could go that route with Embiid, but I just have a feeling if they do that, they would ask for more from the Suns. And that's my fear.
So if I was Daryl Morey, I would obviously not want to give up that third pick. But what we do have from the James Harden deal is a 2028 Los Angeles Clippers first round pick, unprotected. Are you guys interested in that? Because think of where the Clippers are. I mean, Kawhi Leonard, old, James Harden, old. They have no young players. So in 2028, that pick is most likely going to be valuable. So would you take that instead of the number 3 overall pick? Like, would that be enough to entice you?
That's not a bad return, but it's not as good as the third in this year. I mean, it just instant gratification part of it and being able to make the team better immediately by getting that third pick and then being able to control him for 4 years. That helps us speed things up. So I think it would just take some of the zing out of your offer. And remember, you guys would be competing hypothetically against some other teams.
So the thing about like rebuilding with Maxi, it's kind of like a fake thing because like Maxi is at his best with Embiid. When you take Embiid away, Maxi has been not as good, like not nearly as good. So I think ownership and the GM, Daryl Morey, they should look at it like the future is Tyrese Maxey and Joel Embiid because also there's a clutch factor. Maxi signed with clutch. If you just trade Embiid away, I don't think Clutch wants Maxi on an irrelevant team that is not going to be winning games. I think the Sixers truly just rebuilt and tore everything down. There's a likelihood that Maxi is gone as well, in my opinion. So I think they should just go all in. And Kevin Durant, despite his age, I mean, look at his production. Look at what he's done in the playoffs. And Maxi and KD, they can win games.
Let me ask you about Paul George. What happened to him this year? Why did he fall off of a cliff? And is there any possibility that he will get some of his mojo back next season? Or would we just be trading for a dead-legged player?
So the thing with Paul George, he started off really good in the first preseason game. Like he looked like he had some bounce. He was creating space. Like he looked really good. And it almost felt like Tyrese Maxey saw in training camp that Paul George was cooking and he was kind of deferring to Paul George like he was the main guy. And then like in the third quarter, I forget, or second quarter in the first preseason game, he turned his ankle. He came back obviously, but he wasn't the same. And then like midway through the season, you could tell like the mindset of Maxey kind of shifted where it's like, oh yeah, this dude doesn't have it this year. So I think that initial injury really set him back and he was kind of just trying to come back because the Sixers were so bad in the beginning of the year. So he was trying to come back and I don't think he was ready to come back. And then he got a finger injury on top of that on a shooting hand. And supposedly it was an injury where he could have sat longer. He should have, but once again, the Sixers were in a situation. Embiid was injured. They needed him out there. So really, he was unhealthy all year. But on top of that, he has struggled getting to the rim. But overall, I do not expect him to be as bad as he was this season. And you look at the Sixers, Maxey had a terrible year. Every single person on the roster had a terrible year. It was just kind of bad luck after bad luck. It was bad vibes all around. So although I don't think Paul George is a 1A option or even like a second option on a championship team, at this point he's probably like a third or fourth option. I do think he still is going to have nights where he looks like the best player, can put up 25 efficiently, but he does struggle to create separation. He was really good defensively. I think he'll have a bounce back year, but that contract's not worth it in my opinion. But in your situation, it might be worth the risk. Hopefully, he rejuvenates. I mean, he seems like a guy who would rather live in Phoenix instead of Philadelphia. And Philadelphia's media is crazy. I don't think his personality was a great fit because he immediately got cooked because he's doing a podcast. He's not producing on the court. And the Sixers are in a situation where they're kind of the laughing stock in Philly. You got the Eagles who are like an elite franchise, while the Sixers are just collapsing every single year. So the leash was very short on them. And then Paul George comes in and he's kind of just like lackadaisical and then he's doing podcasts. It just wasn't a good fit. So I think getting out of Philly would help him too.
Yeah, if you think the media was hard on Paul George and you think Paul George didn't handle it well, wait until Kevin Durant gets there.
That is true. That that's going to be a terrible mix.
I joke, but regardless, I'm looking at the team and I'm just trying to go see if there's any like young players like we could swap because I do think, and we joke about this here, but I do think if Kevin Durant goes, his best friend Royce O'Neal's going to go with him. So I'm just looking for any package deals, but outside of your big contracts, man, I mean, you got Oubre, Drummond, but you don't have anything that matches the Suns contract, so that would be tough. So I think it would just end up being a straight swap, Paul George for KD, and then that pick or some form of picks. I think that is the only option for this trade happening anyway.
Tell us what you guys think in the comments. Any interest in Paul George and the third pick for KD?